Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the future of the water and wastewater industry and the careers you didn't know about. And I'm your host, Dave Kosminski. And we have a new friend, old friend, from the Connecticut Water Association, Connecticut Water Company. And she is the developer supervisor, developer services supervisor, Ms. Shannon Miles. Hi, Shannon.
Hi, Dave. How are you?
Good. Thanks for coming over on this snowy morning.
Thanks for having me.
My God, I wasn't sure whether we were going to get this in, but yeah, we braved the snow and so forth. All the schools canceled, so it was, there's not much traffic on the road, so whatever. Anyway, so how you doing?
Great.
All right. As you know, this is the careers you didn't know about, and we're trying to get some younger blood in this industry of ours, and we're trying to refill the pipeline. So tell me a little bit about your day job and how you got into the water business.
Sure. So my current day job is the developer services supervisor. So that means everything new. All of the new service connections to the existing water system and water main extensions.
Ah, okay. And now you're located in the Middletown office, correct?
I am.
Okay. Now, do you now Connecticut Water? They're serving over what, almost 400,000 customers?
Correct.
Okay. So do you handle that for the whole system?
I do. So our department is a small department. It's just me, 2 project managers, and an administrative assistant, and we handle every single one of the towns that Connecticut Water serves.
Wow. Now, when you say new services, new water main, is that the water mains extensions as well?
Correct.
Okay. So what has Connecticut Water got going on now?
So we have about 30 projects all across the state, mostly developer expansions. So that means when a developer wants to add houses to a new area, our team gets water to that development.
Okay. All right. Now, I know you guys are sometimes tasked with taking over failed systems. Okay. And so forth. So how does that work out? When the health department says, Connecticut Water, you need to take this over.
It's usually not ever good.
Yeah.
It's usually failing systems that need help. So we really focus on trying to get them clean water first.
Yep.
And then we work out the paperwork and the details afterwards. So right now we're doing one of those projects in Old Lyme.
Oh, okay. I know you have a small system here in Portland.
We do.
And so forth. But again, a lot of times you get into a situation, people don't know where their water comes from sometimes. They just turn on the faucet and it comes out, I'm good, and so forth. But they don't realize what's going on behind the scenes in order to get it to you, whether it's a surface water supply, whether it's a groundwater supply. Now, most of your systems are groundwater supply, but I know you have a couple reservoirs.
We do. We have Lake Schnipset, which is a large surface water reservoir that feeds a lot of the towns in our northern district.
And that's conventional treatment plant there as well. Okay. Now, I know Portland, for instance, that's a groundwater well.
Correct. So many of the smaller systems, what we call satellite systems, meaning they're not interconnected with other systems.
Right.
Do have wells.
As far as take us through a process of, people, let's start with the service, for instance. How does that work out? People contact you from all over the state or whatever?
Yeah, all over the state. So they reach out to us and our team responds. And some of the big things that we need to know is how close are they to a water main? Does the property even have frontage on a water main? Yeah. So then we decide whether we can serve them just with a service off of the existing main or if a water main extension is needed.
Now, I'm sure there's a time when, you don't have a water main and, it just is not feasible getting that. So what happens then?
So what happens then is they usually have to go to their town health department and talk about either drilling a new well or rehabbing the existing one.
Oh, okay. Well, we've had exceptionally wet weather this past year. I think we've had unprecedented rainfalls. I mean, we've had, just in Portland here, typically the fairgrounds are up on Route 17, during the spring freshet that goes over the road. That's been over the road half a dozen times this year, my God.
Yeah.
And in the wintertime, my God,
Oh, don't even get me started on the Connecticut River over in Middletown.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, the river's quite high now. My God, I think it just came off the road up by the fairground, but it was over the road there, over the weekend. And so, but it's going down now, but, it presents a problem, not only, for obviously, for your treatment facilities and so forth. Now, you also have some wastewater facilities, correct?
We do. When we bought Heritage Village over in Southbury, they had an existing wastewater facility that we took over.
Uh-huh. Now, is that a conventional plant, a tertiary plant?
I am not sure.
Okay. But it obviously does it go into the Connecticut River?
Not in Southbury.
Not in Southbury. Okay. So it has to go into some water body.
Yes. But I'm not as familiar with the wastewater side, I have to admit.
That's all right. That's all right. Well, it's like anything else. Hot on the left, cold on the right, sewer goes downhill. Once it's downhill, it's out of sight, out of mind, to go from there. So going back, how long have you been with Connecticut Water?
Since 2013.
Okay. Now, how did that journey into the water business come about?
Well, like you mentioned earlier, I was one of those people that just didn't think that much about water. Growing up here in Connecticut, as you said, it's very wet.
Yeah.
You see water everywhere. When I graduated from UConn, I had plans to be a teacher.
Okay.
But I did some volunteer work after college with AmeriCorps. I highly recommend that program.
Okay,
it's fantastic.
Uh-huh.
And it brought me to Colorado doing disaster relief.
Nice.
Out there, I was a wildland firefighter.
Okay.
And let me tell you, water is very different out west than it is here.
Absolutely. It's the climate is different. You're dealing with, wildfires. You're dealing with extreme weather events.
Drought was never really a word that I grew up with.
Wow. Yeah.
And then I went out there and it really opened my eyes to the importance of water.
Yeah. Well, I think, that's the thing. And, again, we're water rich here in the Northeast. And, that's, obviously, as I'm going to be retiring at the end of this week. And that was one of my bucket list items as far as, continuing on with this podcast is to put a mobile podcast studio together and travel across the United States and interview with people in the water industry. And as you know, how different it is, here out west, Midwest, and out, you're dealing with California and droughts and wildfires and floods. You've got the whole gamut. Water is water, but dealing with those circumstances is a totally different animal.
Yes. The goal, everybody has the same goal, is to get water from the place that has it to the place that doesn't. It's just a lot further when out west than it is here.
You say AmeriCorps. I've had quite a few people that I've interviewed that have had the AmeriCorps experience, and they spoke highly of it. But it's enriching in spirits, but it's also eye-opening as far as in relation to what they do.
It was an amazing program. I highly recommend it. I did a year of service stationed in Denver, but we went all over. Mm-hmm. Alabama, Texas, everywhere you can think of. So
now, was it primarily all water related, or was it?
No. I was in it's primarily disaster relief.
Okay.
Rebuilding after hurricanes or floods and things like that. But they have a program for everyone.
Right. And obviously, being a volunteer and so forth. You get, thrown into every situation.
You become quite bonded with your team members, that's
Yes,
for sure.
yeah. Now, were they typically a large team or small?
Usually about 13.
Really? Okay, fine. And now, kind of rewinding back to, high school, college days, what was your aspiration as far as, career possibilities back then?
I wanted to be a teacher.
Okay.
But to be honest with you, I didn't have a lot of exposure to different jobs.
Okay.
I worked ever since I was 14, but, those are entry-level jobs. I didn't really know what I wanted to do as a career.
Right. Well, again, that's the thing. A lot of times, and kids coming out of high school, going into college, it's one of the premises of me launching this podcast is to make, students aware, okay, of the great careers that are available under this water umbrella, so to speak. You get to a situation, you've got it all. You're basically a supervisor and developer services that runs the gamut within your industry. But you have treatment plant operators, you have construction people, you have truck drivers, you got equipment operators, you've got HR people. One of my first podcasts that I did was with the president of your company, Maureen Resbeck, who has since retired. Okay, and she came on, as far as, and her tasks are, wow. Yeah, and she has been there a long time. She came up through the ranks, and it's amazing, how much Connecticut Water has grown.
And you hit on something right there. So when Maureen and I first talked, she told me that she started by taking water samples.
Okay.
Out in the field.
Yep.
And I have worn quite a few hats now at Connecticut Water. When I got my foot in the door, I was doing customer service. I moved to dispatch. I was the construction lead down in Shoreline, and finally ended up in developer services.
Nice.
But I was worried at the time. I was saying, is this going to look bad that I have a lot of different job titles within one company? And at the time, the person I was interviewing with said, if I kept a business card for every job I had in this company, I wouldn't be able to fit it in my wallet. And that was Craig Patla.
There you go.
Our current president.
Craig, I got to get Craig on the list here. I know we've talked at Cave and the conferences and so forth, but I've got to get him to come on and so forth. But that's the thing. In myself, I started 50 years ago, and I started out in the water department, and I was putting in services. I was doing meter testing. I was doing meter rebuilding back in the day when we rebuilt meters. I did all the cross-connection inspections. I was the water conservation coordinator. I did education programs in the schools. You name it. I don't know if you remember, or you probably don't know, but I built this water conservation exhibit called Walter the Water Saver, and I schlepped that thing all over the country, showing people the advantages of low-flow toilets, low-flow aerators, and so forth. And it's amazing. But I know exactly what and people ask me, what job did you do? He says, well, I did any job necessary.
Yes, in a lot of water utility companies, you have to wear a lot of hats, and you learn so much doing that. It's not just one thing.
Well, and that's the thing. And, the smaller utilities, even more so, because, Connecticut Water, you've got specialization in all your departments. You've got, services, you've got customer service, you've got HR, you've got, all the specialized departments. But when you got a small water department like us, okay, here in town, we've got two people in the water department. One's a meter, one's a foreman, okay, and then we have a billing clerk in the office. That's it, and everybody pitches in and does everything. You kind of have to have, the hats on the wall, the hat rack. What hat am I wearing today?
Exactly.
So are you still doing much testing at all, or as far as water sampling?
So I still do. So every time we do a new water main extension, we always have to test the water.
Sure.
Before we turn it on.
Yep.
And provide it to customers. So all of those skills that you learn, you take with you.
Sure.
It's another tool in the toolbox.
Now, when you test the water, now typically do you use your own lab to test the water, or do you bring it to the state lab?
So for my job, I bring it to different labs and we sub it out.
Okay.
But for our internal testing, we do have our own labs as well.
Yeah. We use EML, which is over in Wallingford. There's one of the state certified labs. But I can remember back in the day, I used to bring water samples up to the state health department in Hartford. Back in when they had, well, they still have the lab up there and so forth. But now everything is electronic. You had to fill out you had a chain of custody. Now it's done electronically. But that's with technology. That's the way it goes. Now, how has the water industry changed technology wise since you got in?
Oh, wow. So we were still doing paper work orders back when I first started. So you would hand somebody a stack of papers that said what their work was for the day. They would go out in the field, write hand notes on those pieces of paper, and they would come back into the office to be processed.
Yep.
That created a massive backlog.
Oh, sure.
So a lot of paper, if papers got missed, we were redoing jobs. So going to digital work orders was huge.
Yeah.
I also remember driving around in my truck with rolls and rolls of distribution maps to see where our water mains were located.
Locating curb boxes, locating valve boxes, and is this what size is this? Is this a 6-inch? This is a 10-inch. This is a 12-inch. Is it open left? Is it open right?
Calling the office to have somebody look up a tap card for me so I could find where the curb is.
The service box, yes.
Now we have GIS right on our phone. We have GIS mapping. We have a whole GIS department now.
Yes. Geographic Information System. That has changed the world. I started a GIS program with this class that I taught in high school, and we got basically hooked up with ESRI, which is, one of the primary providers of GIS software. And it's amazing. And, the guys, and I tell my students, a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Yes.
You can look at a piece of paper and, it's 32 feet, out from the house. It's 6 foot left of right side or whatever. And then, but when you see a picture, boom, and that's where it is. And basically any of the GIS basically is plotting it, a point on the earth. It's a latitude and longitude. So once you put it in, bing, it's there. If you lose the paper, as long as you got the file, you're good.
Yeah, and we can pull it up on our phones, on our laptops. Everybody's looking at the same picture.
Yeah, exactly. Now, from the standpoint of going through, again, regulations from the state, we all have to, comply with a lot of the regulations. How have you noticed the regulatory process been? That has changed pretty drastically.
Yes. So we're a publicly traded company. So we go through PURA, but we still are bound to all of the EPA regulations for water quality and things like that. In my job, luckily, my regulations haven't changed all that much because it's mostly distribution and design. But I do know on our treatment and water quality side and our operations side, between the lead and copper rule and
PFAS. I mean, the forever chemical.
Yes. It has been a scramble, but everybody is trying to do their best and plan for it.
Yeah. Now, I know the first step in, the lead, copper service lines, have you guys completed your inventory as far as locating all that's all done?
Yes. Yeah. And we actually leveraged GIS quite a bit for that.
There you go. Here again, picture's worth 1,000 words. You get to a point where you have it in an electronic file. It makes it a lot easier than flipping through dog-eared paper files.
Yes.
Sometimes is that a 9 or is that a 6 or whatever? Yeah, I agree. When you start, so how many years now you've been in
So since 2013, so about 11 years.
About 11 years. Okay. So, and how did that job come? I mean, did you know somebody? How did that? Did you say I saw this job, I'm going to apply for it? Or?
Dave, I when I came back from Colorado, I knew that I wanted to be in the water industry.
Yeah.
And when I learned about Connecticut Water, I knew it was going to be a place that I wanted to go. So I got my foot in the door just in the call center.
Oh, okay. There you go.
So I said, wherever you guys need me, I want to get in with the company and work my way.
There you go. Now, from a standpoint, again, focusing, I distribute, this podcast to all of our high school guidance counselors and so forth. If you were to give advice to a high school student, what would you say about the water industry?
Think about water. Because it is a fantastic job. I really found a place that I knew I was going to be challenged and be satisfied.
Yes.
Doing this type of work. I mean, A, you're getting water to people who need it.
Mm-hmm.
It's vital.
Yes.
And B, it's so fascinating.
Oh, yeah.
You talk to anybody in the water industry and we will lovingly call ourselves water nerds.
Yeah.
We can talk about water forever.
Yeah.
And you find this passion and this dedication in this industry that you don't really find other places.
I agree. And you said the word passion, and that is all the people that I've interviewed, and and I've interviewed small water systems, large water systems, regional MDC, Connecticut Water, regional water. Okay, there's all the passion there. If I do a water boot camp in the summer with Professor Wes Winterbottom, and we've been doing it for the last 8 years now with MDC, called their Learn and Earn program, and the people up there are so passionate about their jobs, and they're willing to share that with students. How do you do this? How do you? And it's infectious. It really is.
You're right. And people are willing to share their knowledge. Actually, as you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, we've got a vacuum of people retiring, and they want to pass that knowledge down. Sure. They want people to share it with. So if you have a student that is ready to learn, but maybe college isn't the right path for them.
Right.
This is a fantastic industry to get into because people are willing to teach.
Well, and things are, we're not downplaying college at all, but like you say, not everybody is made to go to college. And there are occupations under this water umbrella, okay, that you don't necessarily need a college degree, okay, to get your foot in the door. And once you get your foot in the door, you can go sideways, you can go up, and if you want to continue your education. Now, I think Connecticut Water has a tuition reimbursement program. Tell us a little about that.
We do. So once you get your foot in the door and you work at Connecticut Water, if you want to further your education, you just file the paperwork with HR and there's a tuition reimbursement. So as long as you pass the class,
they'll reimburse you for it.
They'll reimburse you.
It's nothing better than that. You get to pay to go to school, and that's the thing. Obviously, every water utility is different. Again, you're from the what we call investor owned, but just for our listeners, we also have municipal water departments, which what we are here in Portland. You've got the regionals, okay, which are like the quasi publics, which are regional water and MDC, but you and Aquarian are in that investor owned category as far as that goes. So you have shareholders that you have to deal with, whereas we only have voters in town here. How come the water bill's so high? You get to that point. How when you get to working on projects and those projects evolve, is there get to the point where you hand it off to the different departments from engineering to HR, or how does that work? I think your workflow, as you would call it.
Sure. So our workflow is all handled within our department.
Okay.
So from start to finish, between contract negotiation and signing, easements, to collection of funds, and then we review drawings. We go through the whole project management process from start to finish, and we're actually the ones that go out and turn the valve on when it's ready to go.
Or turn the valve off when they don't pay the bill.
Luckily, that isn't us.
Exactly. So anyway, so hey, on a personal note, what do you like to do for fun?
Oh, I like to garden.
Oh, okay. You got that green thumb?
I try. I was adrenaline junkie when I was younger, but now that I'm a bit older, gardening is my thing.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Any other hobbies that you get out in the outdoors?
Oh yeah, hiking. I used to be an avid skydiver. I still
Really?
snowboard. Oh yeah,
Okay. And you're married?
I am.
Okay. Any kids?
Yep, one.
One?
3-year-old.
3-year-old. Okay, that keeps you busy.
It does. That's why the gardening now has become
Therapy.
the main hobby.
Keep everybody in line and go from there. That's great. So your 3-year-old is just starting kindergarten?
No, he's still in daycare right now, so
okay.
he's in the preschool class in daycare.
Nice. That's great. So, great. Well, hey, Shannon, thank you so much for coming down and sharing a little bit of your story and how you got into the water industry and what you do in your day job. But any other things that you'd like to add?
No, just thank you for having me, and thank you for doing this show and shedding some light on the water industry.
Well, that's that's one of my passions that I'm going to hopefully keep going after I retire. But I'm working some stuff out now with AWWA and possibly doing some sponsorships. So I may be reaching out to Connecticut Water for a sponsorship. Go from there.
Let me know. You've got my number.
All righty, fantastic. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Miss Shannon Miles is in the house from Connecticut Water Company. And thank you, Shannon. And that concludes this episode of The Future of the Water and Wastewater Industries and the Careers You Didn't Know About. We will catch you on the next episode. Thanks, Shannon.